600 plus GM, and tremendously creative. Okay, if you watch his games, then you would feel like he has a fresh air into the game of chess. Right now, this all theory which is surrounding chess, this guy has the ability to bring freshness in the game. I don't know how he does it, but more importantly, what I'm completely a big fan of is that he's known as the blindfold king in the world. He has.
I have seen his video also in blindfold.
Yes, there are a lot of videos on YouTube if you find it. He has played 48 boards blindfolded simultaneously. So there were 48 players playing. How many hours did it last?
I know.
19 hours.
19 hours he played chess. So my question on behalf of all of you to him is, and I think this will be useful for you guys, is how do you build your memory to such an extent that you can remember so much? I think the kids can also benefit from that, from what your advice would be.
Well, yeah, thank you, Sagar. The idea of developing your blindfold chess ability, the memory, the ability to conceptualize and visualize, being able to create that image, that picture that you can follow as it develops. Now, I don't know how it exactly happens for the very beginner. If you try to visualize, I guess if you just strive long enough and hard enough, you should be able to see the game through. You know, if you're like 1200 and above, you know, you should be able to you start grasping that ability, and as you persist, you know, with one game from start to finish. The best way to do it, by the way, is to record the chess moves. If you record the chess moves, there's no excuse, right? If you record the chess moves, you can play a blindfold game. It's actually all you need is 2 score sheets, right? You don't necessarily have to put a blindfold on. Just put 2 score sheets, 2 players, 2 good players. One of them could be sided with a chessboard, then you'd probably need a blindfold on, right? But the best way is if you have two players practicing blindfolded, just record your moves, and then say your move as you play them, and just go on like that for a while. Now, a lot of times, you know, when I do like workshops or encourage my friends to play blindfolded, and then we actually talk about it, and then I'll be like, well, okay, let's play a game, and then blindfolded, right? So they'll sit down, they'll set up the chess piece. I'm like, no, it's like blindfolded. They're like, no, I don't want to, maybe next time. I'm like, no, do it this time, right? So, and then they sit down, and they're like, okay. And then they play a game, and they get into it, right? Total beginners. Not even 1200 level players, just people who just, you know, play recreationally. And, you know, like slowly they get into it, and then later, maybe like 12 moves later, I'm like, well, you guys, you know, I don't want to put too much pressure on you. I just wanted you guys to try. Do you want to set up the pieces and then, you know, see what the position is? You know, they're like, oh, no, we'll keep on playing. You know, so they get into it, right? So it's like, what it takes, you know, is obviously my achievement is quite extensive, right? That's, you know, hopefully that's going to stay, it's going to be a, you know, like tremendous historic achievement in blindfold chess. But I feel like, you know, a lot, you know, okay, 48 games is like a lot of games, you know. I wouldn't say for any particular player, but I'm sure there's grandmasters, strong chess players. The master who set the world record before me, he's actually Mark Lang from Germany. He's a FIDE master, so you don't necessarily have to be a grandmaster. He played 46 games blindfolded simultaneously, so that's quite a tremendous achievement. Back in the day, you had world champion Alekhin. He's probably the greatest blindfold chess player ever. He played 33 games, and then we had Koltanowski, who probably played, you know, the most number of matches all around the world as he traveled. He played blindfold chess. He practiced. He got into it by, you know, he was born in the year 1900. So he was when he was very young. Okay, he ended up at a hospital. You know, so I think he was like pretty active, as it happens for some chess players that just, you know, have an injury and then they get into chess. You know, they were like, you know, soccer players and, you know, some kind of, you know, like sports, but then they get into chess. So he was out there in the hospital. He didn't have the chessboard or anything. So he would sit down and he's like got fascinated with chess, so he'd like visualize the chessboard, and he visualized different quadrants. You can break down the game into the board into 4, and then visualize each one of the quadrants. You know, each one of the squares, what color those squares are. And make sure you like, as I realized that as I tried this puzzle, the 8-queen puzzle, where you just set the queens on the board, I started to get a greater appreciation of the chessboard, because a lot of times you don't necessarily even have to see every one of the pieces, notice every one of the squares, just because the patterns in chess, it's like a certain tactical idea, right? A lot of times you come up, you just see the position for a split second, right? And you know everything about it, right? You know, oh, okay, this is the winning move. Like you barely even saw it, just because of the shape, right? So, you know, there's different ways, different creative ways to get to appreciate blindfold chess, and it will certainly enhance the strength, the awareness in the game, especially when there's stress involved. You see younger players coming in to play the game, and you know, at times, especially scholastic tournaments, you know, a lot of times they'll just finish very quickly, right? Or you know, they'll be playing a great game, and all of a sudden there's oh, you know, like I didn't see something, you know, I blunder, right? Blunder. It's essentially it's the awareness of the board. You know, you can kind of how the board connects. You know, it's kind of like, you know, if you're running, right? You tie some weights on your legs, right? And you run like this, you know, and then after you take the weights off and see how fast you're gonna run. So same thing with blindfold chess, is that extra added pressure, you know, the load, right? The workload that you try with blindfold chess. Your vision, your concentration gets stronger. A lot of times, you know, you know, blindfold chess believed to be to actually you know, make you know, grandmasters. They'll try to do like an exhibition match, and then they have headaches, and then they go crazy. They get mad. It's like you have all those stories, right? The myth that you know, blindfold chess can really affect you. They can sleep, you know. It's actually, I mean, you can, if you do it. I mean, if you overstrain yourself, that could be possibly the case. For me, it's kind of like the process of meditation. It's actually a very calm, very focused process. And a lot of times as I finish a match, you know, especially if I have the stationary bike. You guys know, you know, I normally set up the bike, you know, when I play blindfold chess in an exhibition match. I have a stationary bike, you know, and I spin the pedals, right? Not necessarily very fast, you know, just to get the flow, right? And you get like a nice physical workout, and you get the focus. A lot of times, naturally, you know, as I'm actually kind of, my mind is a little scattered, you know, so, you know, just I'm like, oh, this idea, this, that. But then when it comes to blindfold chess, there's like such tremendous focus, even though you're switching between different games. There's a tremendous focus on the now, like what's going on in front of you, because you mishear the move, you're thinking about something else. In a regular game, yes, you can kind of like daydream a little bit, you know, you can daydream a little bit, and you still can come back and see the position, and then come back to it. In blindfold chess, if you miss a point, they'll come back to hunt you. So you have to really be there, you have to really be present. So in terms of practical application, I'd say, you know, just have your children, you know, try yourself, you know, that's a good lead by example, right? Try playing a blindfold game, and all you do is you just grab a couple score sheets and record the chess moves. And then if you say, oh, well, I don't see any, well, that's, as you don't, it's not that you don't see, you're just being lazy, right? Because you have all the moves right there. Come back to the very first move, and then look through it, right? At first, it could be a little bit tiresome, so you want to stretch your boundaries just a little bit at a time, right? But if you have all the moves recorded, you got to be able to reproduce from beginning to the end. Now it gets to like 30, move 40. To be honest, I think it should be getting easier, because believe it or not, when I play large exhibition matches, oftentimes the toughest part is the beginning. You're switching between different games, and the games haven't formed. It's just a very usual setup. just as if, like, you know, the mind grabs on in terms of memory. The mind grabs on to something that is familiar, or something that is unusual. That's when the mind works the best. You know, that's when you're like, oh, this is something interesting. I haven't seen this before, or this is the kind of theme that I know. So if you can kind of break it down and make those themes into like particular those little images, that's when you can, you know, multitask and you can juggle essentially 48 balls at the same time, right? You know, but so it's a number of impressions. I mean, obviously something you build up to, but you know, the way you start, also a great technique. This is something that I feel like I owe my ability is reading chess books without the chessboard. You can also just, you know, you can do a combination of things. You can set up the chessboard and you can actually help yourself out. But you know, if you open up a book, if it's not too difficult, right, or puzzles, right, maybe like 3-4 move puzzles, if you can handle those really easy, then you know, move on and stretch, get the more complex examples, and especially the ones like, for example, Dvoretsky manual. It doesn't necessarily have to be that advanced. You know, I was already like over expert level. I would travel by train with my family. You know, go to chess competitions in Russia, and then you know, there's not much to do, right? So I have a chess book and I just read the chess book. So setting up a chessboard is not very convenient, right? But you know, you open a chess book and I'll just read it, right? Or we'll be like waiting for some, you know, I'll just be sitting and like I'll be reading, you know, following this different variations. Tactics is very good. But then if you have like a, let's say, a knight versus bishop endgame, some kind of Dvoretsky loves those, you know, where you just like move around for like 15-20 moves, execute different strategic ideas, and then you can kind of notice how it goes. It could be almost more complex. So it's not necessarily even the number of pieces. You could say, well, there's 32 pieces times the number of variations of moves you can play. It's not necessarily even that. You know, at times with all the pieces on the board, you can see some of the youngsters actually do really good. When it comes down to very few pieces, even though it seems like things get simpler, at times things get more challenging. Actually, even computers, right? It's like, look, they know all those different ways, but then all of a sudden this kind of a mysterious, complex, positional, strategic endgame, and computers give a wrong evaluation, and it's proven by, you know, going through analysis for the next 10-20 moves, and all of a sudden the evaluation switches, right? So one is actually, you know, when it comes to blindfold chess ability, you know, it's kind of cool to try it out and know that you can do it, and it'll give you the confidence for your over the board game, you know, or you know, whatever, beating my record, right? Someday, right? So I'd say, you know, try it, you know, whatever you are, you know, get the score sheet, record the chess moves, find a good opponent, you know, and then practice. And then if maybe your children, maybe you can keep on, you know, increasing the number. Maybe you can play 2 games like that, right? So for the score sheet, then puzzles, right? You know, working tactics is wonderful. Tactics is wonderful. Solving those without necessary chessboard, you just see the position and you know, find the solution. You know, without having the chessboard, without knowing the pieces. Then, you know, reading the chess book, right? Just reading the chess book, strategic situations, and see how the situation changed. And a lot of times, to be honest, when I tried it, even like at a master level, I get tired. You know, you get tired. You're looking, oh my God, you get tired. Then you take a break, then you come back to it, right? And and another great, and actually the most important concept you can take away from blindfold chess training is you know, you have a key position, critical position, and think in terms of like, even like you set a position, you set some kind of a puzzle, and then and then the question is, well, you know, whose move is it, right? So that's an important one, or like who's winning, right? Who's gonna do? What am I supposed to do here, right? But you know, during a regular game, nobody's gonna tell you, right? Well, you're supposed to like win and mate in 3 moves. You know, your opponent's not gonna tell you that, right? So you know, you set up the position, okay? you have a critical situation at hand, and as a chess coach, your parent, a lot of you guys probably help your children go over their games, right? At least like watching them do that, right? And then just kind of give more or less some guidance, right? So maybe there's certain key positions. Actually, my mother helped me go over like top level, top players games, like bot winning games, and she would be like have a book and be like, I'll try to guess a move, right? So she's like, okay, move 1. I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe play E4 or D4. So, but later, in certain critical positions, you basically take the time, you see that certain key, there's a certain key spot, there's a winning move. For example, Fischer-Reshevsky, that's a great example, right? When there's the bishop f7 shot. And a lot of times what happens, especially I'm sure a lot of you kids have the experience, and at times they're kind of overconfident, or just by nature they're just, oh, well, I see it, or I know it. The thing is, a lot of those, they're a certain detail, right? You play that same idea and you switch the moves. Instead of winning, you're losing in a winning position. So it's also, you got to slow down, appreciate, and that's when, especially, that blindfold chess ability, that training, that discipline, it comes handy, because then you need to slow down, see it through, execute it, just see the situation that you need to think through, because you're like, oh, I'll play this and this and this, and then let's see. Like, that's not the right approach, that's not the right approach. Let's just see the whole way through, see the another critical step, another critical position, see it from like 3 steps behind. Well, I know this is the right move, but then like if you get 3 moves later, you cannot go back anymore, right? You can't go back, right? So you kind of have to see all those 3 steps, and then the next 4 steps, right? So I mean that's kind of a stretch, but if you can see 3 steps, why are you so tempted to play it? There's more things happening, right? So the key is during the game analysis to slow down, and when you consider the opportunity, instead of just playing all those moves quickly, the way to improve, you can be a really good by just throwing stuff on the board, but you need to slow down, reflect, and then just see, like whenever you're going over the games, just imagine that's a real game right now. So it's not just just throwing stuff out there on the board. Grandmasters can do that sometimes because of the numerous patterns and the confidence and competence, the ability, the experience, right? So you can kind of, okay, well that's the move. I know this is the move. I know this is the move, and then a lot of times you'll see grandmasters will slow down, take the time to appreciate the situation. Well, I'm not so sure, right? You even sometimes have the players of lesser ability. Some of the youngsters will come in and we're like, oh, what is this? What is that? Like, we're going over the game. We're taking our time. We want to see this, right? But I gotta see. How about this? So you wanna take the time, appreciate, and then envision. Have that patience to envision what's going to happen along many moves. Even though this is game analysis, so you're not going to lose that game, right? But that's the kind of discipline you need to develop to be able to to have the discipline and make the right decisions during the game.
Thank you so much. So one of the things that I find very refreshing in Timur is that he actually tries to explain stuff accurately. There are many people who would say things just because out of habit. They just say things, but he's thinking about it. So if you listen to him, it's actually, you can put it into use. That's what he's trying to say, and that's why many times it's very complicated. For me to even understand, it was quite. So thanks a lot for these insights.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers. You guys have a great evening.